Hi, I'm Anatole, and this is my review of Twilight Zone, the original series, Season 1, Episode number 8, titled Time Enough at Last. And I can't imagine that anyone watching this review is not already intimately aware with this episode. It's a classic episode. It gets referenced in pop culture all the time. I believe Simpsons have parodied it. When I was reviewing Season 2 of Marvelous Miss Maisel. Check those out if you haven't seen my reviews of that series. There is a mention, the character Abe talks about this particular episode in that series. So I won't be treading new ground here, but I will give my take on the episode. Some interesting production notes, and as always, I reference two sources now. In my reviews, I read the Twilight Zone Companion, and every time I refer to this book, I have to look up the title. I think it's Chasing the Dream. Twilight Zone, Unlocking the Door to the Third Dimension, which is really not a good title. It's too complicated. Anyway, so what I picked up from my research was that this was an adaptation of a short story. And what Rod Serling did was add a little bit more of the character background. That the original story mainly only served for the gimmick, the plot twist at the end. And so I think a lot of the first act was the result of Rod Serling, and that's really fleshing out the character. And this was a nice combination of good script and then good casting, getting the right actor for the role. Because Burgess Meredith is wonderful in this part. And again, from my research, he said that after the episode aired, there was not a month throughout the rest of his life where at least one person didn't come up to talk to him about this episode. It was the thing that he did as an actor that got remarked upon the most. And now I wanted to point out thematically about the episode. So the irony of the episode is that a man who all he wanted to do in his life was read, and was thwarted from doing that, was given the chance to do that, and then, while trying to pursue this activity, lost the use of his glasses, and so was unable to read. And that's pretty much the surface level of the theme. But there are deeper things going on. So first, let's look at culturally. At this point in time, this is around the same time that Ray Bradbury wrote the book Fahrenheit 451. So Bradbury's concerned that there was a strain of anti-intellectualism kind of brewing within the culture. And you can see that through the witch hunts of Edward McCarthy, the Red Scare, and the response that Hollywood took, which was to ban the people who had even had the taint of communism from writing any sort of Hollywood production. So while at this point in the 50s going into the 60s, the writer had more cultural cachet than he and she would later in American culture. At the same time, there was the sense that people just wanted to go with the flow and didn't want to question authority too much. And so being an intellectual is a way of questioning that authority. Reading books is a way of becoming dangerous because you begin to challenge the way things are done. And you see that in this episode when the wife takes the collection of poetry and X's everything out and says, good, now you'll be able to join me and the married couple they are friends with later tonight. So there was that sense that just close that book and this just sort of go with the flow, and you'll be much happier that way. So that's kind of one thing that Serling may have been responding to when he wrote the story, but it's layered because he's not presenting us a character that we are meant to completely sympathize with, because we see that he has flaws. And so his fatal flaw works like this. He is someone who's pursuing books and knowledge, but becomes short-sighted in that pursuit. And so then the deepest irony is that when he's given the chance to do nothing but pursue that, his lust for that goal leads to him losing that goal completely, because you see it later at the very end of the episode. He's got just that one more book he wants to get, and he can't wait to get that book. So as he's reaching for it, in the act of trying to get that one last book, his glasses fall off and break, and so he's unable to do any reading. And then there's a second symbol, and that's the broken clock. And the title of the episode is Time Enough at Last. So this character wants to, he's happiest when all time is gone. But when he gets that, when he gets all the time in the world, he comes close to killing himself, because the loneliness is too strong. So even though he thought he didn't need people, in the end he does need people. And it's proven to him, because when he's given that thing that he always wanted, his pursuit of it leads to him being unable to do it at all. And so he's back to where he was just before the climax of the episode, where he had the gun up to his head. He was contemplating suicide. But this symbol of time, we see it twice. So the watch, the pocket watch he has with him within the vault, breaks open and stops working. And then when he's outside the library collecting all the books, we see the broken clock yet again. And even though he's given all the time in the world, it becomes completely useless to him, because he has no people and he has no way of pursuing books. So that's kind of the crux of the episode. And as far as the writing, I've commented before that Rod Serling would write a draft or two. He would write it within 2 days, 3 days. And so the weaker episodes, you can see the seams. You can see where that process shortchanged his intention, that the work itself needed more care. But you can do things fast, and sometimes it's going to work if you've got enough talent and you know you've got experience. You can make that work for you. Sometimes it will miss, so it becomes very hit and miss. This is a hit. This is a hit. It's one of the most highly regarded episodes of the Twilight Zone, and it's I was going to mention, it's one you can show someone who's never seen the series before and feel pretty certain they're going to get it. So if you haven't seen it, I'm doing reaction videos of Chernobyl with my friend Min, and while we were recording the first episode, I was kind of setting up the camera gear. I showed him this episode, Time Enough at Last. He had never seen Twilight Zone, and he enjoyed it very much. He was surprised by the very ending, but when, and this connects to the dangers of nuclear weapons and nuclear energy, so connects to Chernobyl. When Burgess Meredith's character goes into the vault and he has a newspaper and it talks about the H-bomb, Min, as he was watching, goes, I know where this is going to go. So he saw that twist of the H-bomb dropping, but the final twist he did not see coming. I think most of us don't see it coming. So that's it. That's what I've got for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm fairly certain you did. If you didn't, I'd like to hear why you didn't, because that would be kind of a minority viewpoint. I'd like to hear why it didn't work for you. And if it did, leave a comment. Just give me some love. And join me again next time for my review of Season 1, Episode 9 of The Twilight Zone. That was my review of Season 1, Episode 8, Time Enough at Last. That's all for now. Take care and be well. Goodbye.